Hi everybody, my name is Glory and I have back pain that I am trying to get rid of. And so I decided I was going to take matters into my own hands and start doing some stretching and strengthening for those areas. Because nothing else that I have tried has worked or I haven't stuck to it. So I thought if I come up with my own moves and I have it to my music and then I can just play it and do it every day and then switch it up, maybe I'd be more inclined to do that. So I thought I would record it, not only for me, but also to share in case anybody else has the same issues. So let me show what I have so you know whether you have the problem that I do or not. I have back pain here in my SI joints and in my right hip. So the stretches that I'm going to be doing are for those areas and around the front core as well. So feel free to join me. Make sure that you don't do anything that hurts. Mine hurts right now, so as I go through, I will be able to modify so I know exactly what's okay and what's not okay for me. If that's different for you, make sure that you change it up, because you don't want to get hurt when you're trying to get better. So let me start by saying, first thing in the morning, before I get out of bed, I've found that it's been very beneficial to do some stretches on my lower back just by some hip movements in bed. So let me show you those and then we'll move into other things that you probably don't want to do in bed because you might smack your partner or they're just awkward. So in the morning when I first wake up, tipping of the pelvis. That helps stretch out these lower back muscles. And then I move to tipping. So we're rocking back and forth, still staying on the same plane as the floor of the bed right now. This can crunch a little bit in my hips, so I have to modify the movement just a little bit to get that perfect position. Now we're going to do some circles. So with our hips up and down. Make sure you go at a speed that you actually can feel the stretching and get to that perfect position for you. We'll go back the other way. Now we're going to bring our knees up, which can be a little tricky to do under the covers, but it's doable. And then we're going to pick up our hips. We don't need to go into a full bridge, but just enough to stretch that lower back again as much as you can. Pressing your hips and your pelvic bones straight up in the air, pressing through your feet. Now here is where I just do some more circles, so I'm not in the same position as I was before. I can get a little bit better leverage using my feet now. Back the other way. And that is the extent of what I do in the bed before I get up in the morning. Because when I've gotten up in the past without doing that, I find that those muscles immediately seize up for me. I also will just fold forward, which is a great release of those lower back muscles right before you get out of bed. Feel free to rock back and forth if this feels good to you. For me, it helps stretch those side muscles above the hips. move into what you probably want to be doing on a floor or a larger space. So we're going to be doing some, if you're familiar with yoga, some pigeon type moves and lizard, and just do what works best for your body. I have pretty bendy hips, so I can go into some positions that not everybody can, but also that's probably part of the reason why my hips have such problems, so don't be jealous. Okay, so start with one of your legs forward. Now, for this position, the further forward you move this front foot away from you, the more of a stretch you're going to get. The closer you move it to the groin area, the more you'll be able to tip and the least aggressive the stretch is. But you want to make sure you're rolling forward so both of your hips are still pointing toward the floor rather than being like this. If you need to be up here, that's fine. Do what your body allows you to do. For me, I need to be out a little bit further to be able to get that stretch. Now here, I'm feeling it in this muscle here. So make sure your hips are down and your shoulders are pointed forward. And you can push back like this before you go down to stretch this front hip flexor. So go ahead and stretch this way. Depending on how bendy your back is, that may impact how much you can stretch.
Scott Hale Plumbing, Heating and Air is offering furnace
Get through some commercials here for a moment.
Stay warm by tapping the Scott Hale ad or visit scotthale.com to see.
And then we're going to fold down into our full pigeon. Just go down to where is comfortable for you. If this is your sticky point, then stop here. You want to be stretching and not hurting yourself.
Anytime you want, and you get ad-free listening, replays, and offline too for less than $5 a month. Try Pandora Plus for free today. Hear more.
Okay, after you've had a good stretch there with your hip, and even that may have been too long for some of you, but you want to make sure that you're getting a good stretch, not just bouncing into it and coming out. Then we're going to move into a lizard position. So pull back onto your back leg there. And then this front leg is going to come out to the side a little bit. You want to make sure here that your knee is above your ankle. You don't want to be here, or you also don't want to be too far forward. You want to have a good sturdy position. Now the goal here is to be again stretching that hip flexor for your back leg. So we're going to add in a little bit more of a psoas stretch by tipping sideways. So lean away from your outstretched leg toward your bent leg with your arm over your head. Now if you also need to put some blocks under your hands, if you're a little bit higher, you can certainly do that. If you can reach the floor, go ahead and reach that and support your weight. So you want to be able to feel the stretch right here as well as in your hip flexor down lower. Okay, now we're going to go down onto the floor and work some more with this hip here. You want to heel toe your foot out a little bit, and then you can stay up here if that's a good position for you. Feel free to rotate around until you get that great stretch right where your muscles need it. Then you can drop down to your elbows if that's comfortable for you and or provides more of a stretch. And then feel free to play with placement for your knee, pushing it out more and bringing it in. Okay, now we're going to push back and work on stretching our hamstrings a little bit, which really affects our lower back muscles as well. So move your foot back in, have your hip over your knee and your front foot flexed, and then you're going to tip your hips back and pull back into this back hip here. So you should be feeling your stretch down in your hamstring. Okay, let's move on to our opposite side. So your leg that's in back is not going to come forward, and we're going to go into that pigeon pose again. So remember, the further forward your foot is, the more of a stretch you're going to get in your hip. The closer it is to your groin, the easier it is to get into the proper position with your hips facing down and your shoulders forward, and the less aggressive a stretch it will be. So get to where you need to be. And then again, hips pointed to the floor, not like this, and our shoulders facing forward. And then go ahead and push back to get that stretch for your front of your hip flexor there. And then come on down to your full pigeon if you can, if that's comfortable for you, or feel free to stay up and rotate around to where you need it. Okay, press back up, and then we're going to bring our foot, our forward foot, back up to the side. Again, remembering to keep our ankle underneath our knee. We're going to stretch that hip flexor as well as the psoas muscle by bending toward our bent leg, hand on the ground or on a block or some sort of support if you need it. And then back to get that muscle. Move around till you feel it. All right, let's bring our hands down to the floor, push back into that stretch, and move around as you need. When you're ready, or if you'd like, feel free to drop down onto your forearms and continue moving around to stretch as you need. And you can move your knee out or in, depending on what your body needs. My hip doesn't like doing this, so it's going to stay here. Okay, go ahead and press up with your hands. I'm going to stretch that hamstring again on the other side. Remember to keep your hips above your back knee, flex your front foot, and then pull back into that back leg, feeling the stretch in your hamstring. Even rotating your hips side to side will bring a different stretch into your hamstring as well as even into your outer hip area. Okay. Go ahead and bring that front foot back around. We'll end up here in horse stance. Then we're going to do some cat-cows. So we're going to go from cat pose. So you're pushing through the floor with your hands and your shoulders and arching your back. And then the opposite. Push your chest towards the floor your head up toward the ceiling. You want to make sure that you're tipping your pelvis so that you can get that arch in your back. We're going to just go through a sequence of these for a few minutes.
I thought I saw the devil this morning, looking in the mirror, drop of rum on my tongue, with a warning to help me see myself clearer. I never meant to start a fire, and never meant
Okay, one more.
to make you bleed. I'll be a better man today. I'll be
Okay,
good.
go ahead
I'll be good.
and turn so that you can be seated.
World like I should.
Move into a half lotus pose.
Yeah.
This is going to give you extra leverage to stretch that lower hip there. If you can do this, that's great. If you can't, go ahead and just leave your foot on the floor.
Never could.
You want to make sure your top foot is flexed when you put it up on top to protect your knee. And then we're going to be bending to the side and stretching our muscles here. So when you're doing this, you want to be placing your hand on the floor and then pushing into it to get that stretch, keeping both of your sit bones on the floor. Doing this isn't going to help you as much. So go ahead and stretch away from the top foot, the leg with the top foot. So I guess toward your foot, and press into the floor, creating that arch and stretch. Go down as low as you can and adjust until you feel the stretch where you need it. Now sometimes people will go forward, around to the other side. That pinches for me, so I'm just going to push up with my hand. And then we're going to switch legs and go to the other side. So remember to press into the floor with your hand, pushing your ribs out to the side and creating that stretch that you're going to feel down here. Press up with your bottom hand. We're going to lie down on the floor.
I'll be good, and I'll love the world like I should. Yeah.
So pick up your feet,
I'll be good.
have your knees up in the air, and then we're going to go to one side and use that as a stretch. So first you're going to cross one leg over the other, and then you can use your hands to help support you on the floor. I'm going to tip over and bring your knees as close to your armpit as you can. And that creates an awesome stretch right here behind your top hip, right where I need it in my SI joint. If you'd like to create more of a twist, you can pick up your head and turn it toward your back arm, looking away from your knees. And then, if you'd like more of a stretch, I'm not sure how you can see this, but you can straighten your top leg, hold it with your hand,
and take an extra 25%
and then that adds a
off
stretch.
with an extra 25% off. Cuddle Duds throw pillows are $11.24 each, or a Keurig K55 is $74.99, and holiday jammies for the family are 50% off, plus an extra 25% off. Santa's on his way to Kohl's
Okay,
this Sunday
go
from
ahead
1 to
and bring
3
your
p.m.
knees
All the jolly details are
back
at
together.
Kohl's.com/Santa.
You can use your
Give joy,
feet
get joy
to
at
help
Kohl's.
tip your knees up.
Select styles 25% off.
I have to be careful in these kinds of positions because it strains those lower back muscles for me if I don't assist. And then let's switch over to the other side. Knees up, cross the opposite knee over,
This is Oprah.
and fall down toward the other side.
With a nutritious twist. One bite, and you'll say,
Oh, that's good.
Remember to bring your knees as close as you can to your armpit if that feels good for you. If it's a better stretch for you elsewhere, do that. You can turn your head away from your knees for an added stretch if you like.
All we do is hide away. All we do is hide away. All we do is chase the day.
And then, if you would like to straighten your top leg, go ahead and do that. Grab onto it with your hand, wherever that ends up being for you, and move that until you find a good stretch.
All we do is lie and wait. All we do is feel the fade. All we do is feel the fade. I've been upside
Okay, go ahead, bring your knees back up again.
wanna be the right way.
Is this how you need?
I find paradise on the ground.
And wiggle out for a second.
I've been upside down.
Okay, we're going to do some more hamstring stretches.
I find paradise on the ground.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to see me well while I stand up, but I'll bend over. Okay, hi. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be rolling toward the balls of our feet and then tipping our hips up so that we can feel the stretch along our hamstrings. So go ahead and stand up. If you need some blocks or boxes or whatever to support, please go ahead and get those. And then we want to, again, put the weight into the balls of our feet. You don't need to be up on your toes. Just have the weight in the balls of your feet. Rotate your pelvis so your sit bones are pointing as much toward the ceiling as possible. And then fold forward, keeping the weight in the balls of your feet to feel that stretch along your hamstrings.
Upside down. I don't wanna be the right way around. I find paradise on the ground. I've been upside down. I don't wanna be the right way around. I find paradise on the ground.
Okay, go ahead and come down. We're going to finish with one last pose that really kind of depends on your flexibility as to how easily you can get into it. But ultimately, we want to be down with our feet flat, relatively close to hip width apart, and then our elbows pressing our knees apart like this. If your flexibility doesn't allow for that, be up wherever it is that you need to be. The lower that you can get, the more it'll help release those back muscles back there. So get into the position that you can. Press those knees apart and feel that stretch in your lower back.
All I did was fancy things. All we do, all we do.
Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Wiggle out anything you need to wiggle out. And that's the stretch that I've got for a little while. I'll be watching my own video on a daily basis to get through those stretches, and then I will create another one when I get tired of those and moving to something different. Thank you for joining me, and I hope this helps with your back issues as well.